What is up, everybody? Whoa. Hey, now you can hear me, but you can't see me. There we go. There we are. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Optimus Fantasy Football Podcast. I am Nate Paul, but joined by my co-host, the one and only Miss Kacey Kasem. Kacey, Howdy. It's Thursday. How are we doing today?
Actually, pretty well. I'm doing pretty well today. I'm happy about that because, when you get one of those good days, yay, let's go.
Yeah, it's the weather. It's going to be almost 90 here on Saturday.
Yeah.
I'm cold. Because I'm me, I'm now planning this big, we're going to go backpacking and we're going to picnic in the mountains and it's going to be great because it's going to be so warm. And everyone else is like, hold on.
Right.
It just got warm. Yeah, I know, but I can't help it. Oh, man. Well, guys, it is good to be here. We are pleased to be here as we approach the NFL draft. We're about 2 weeks away from that fun and a lot to break down there. But first, let's talk about some news, Kacey, going around.
Okay.
Joe Milton to the Cowboys. We've heard some chatter that there's some thought now after the last time we talked about this, that he might actually be the heir apparent. They might be looking at him as a guy who, if he sits 3 years behind Dak and then the team moves on from Prescott, he could be a guy ready to take over the reins. You're in Dallas. The only reason I wanted to talk about this, are you hearing any of that same chatter?
You know what? I really like I was talking about last week. I really need to start listening to sports radio. I'm going to get on that because I really want to hear, because this was kind of news to me, if that makes sense. I've heard rumblings, but I haven't heard. I want to hear the meat and potato. I want to hear the juicy goss. I want to hear what people have to say in the area. So I'll check that out. But I know I've seen people on Facebook who are excited about it. And they're a lot of my friends here in the Dallas area aren't Dak Prescott fans. They're never fans of anybody because we don't win. So, new guy coming in, they're excited on Facebook at least.
Milton's got the arm talent to be a really good NFL quarterback. He's got the legs. He's got the pocket presence. It's the short stuff that he can't do that's been the issue. It's the issue with him coming out of Tennessee. Plus, he was a fifth-year senior. There's some stigma behind that as well, especially with quarterbacks. I could see it, though. I could see that they look at this guy like he's a rod of talent. If we get the right coaching around him, the right mentorship with Prescott around him, maybe there's something to it. Now, Ben Roethlisberger on Friday in an interview on Pittsburgh radio said that he believes that Aaron Rodgers is holding out to play for the Minnesota Vikings. The only reason he is not signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers yet makes sense to me, Kacey, because we saw the workouts with DK Metcalf in Pittsburgh that Aaron Rodgers was doing. That would lead you to believe there's some thought there that he might actually end up playing for this team. Do you think there's any chance that Minnesota, maybe we get past the draft and they're like, why not? Let's add a veteran quarterback to pair with McCarthy. Do you think that that's a possibility?
No, I don't think it's a possibility. And I don't know why I'm thinking this, but my heart says if you want a veteran, they're not looking at Aaron Rodgers to be that guy because Aaron Rodgers is he's a personality, he's a character himself. Any extra added, yeah.
Well, and when you've got a headstrong coach like Mike Tomlin, can you imagine those two?
No, I don't know. I don't know.
No.
Aaron, I wish you would have just said, nah, I'm done. I'm good.
Yeah, I think we all wish that.
Right?
But it doesn't sound like that's what's going to happen. Art Rooney and Mike Tomlin have said that they have made some progress on talks with Aaron Rodgers. And Minnesota reiterated again, they have no desire to sign him. They're happy with what they have now. So I think we can at least put the Minnesota part of this to rest. I don't know that he's going to play in Pittsburgh. I think that they're maybe waiting to see what they can pull off in the draft. I think they've got their eyes on a guy like Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe that they think maybe they can roll out week 1 instead. Or maybe this is a team that thinks their defense and the other parts are good enough that Mason Rudolph is serviceable.
Maybe.
Look, anything's possible, right? Anything's possible. Now let's talk about Geno Smith real quick. Then we're going to move on to some Dynasty trade targets. Geno Smith gets the bag in Vegas. He's now there for the next 3 seasons, Kacey. Is this a team that thinks that they can win now with Geno Smith and Pete Carroll? And if they do, does that make some of these guys on this team worth maybe targeting in fantasy at some point?
Yeah, I think it does kind of give you a little, you want to think a little bit more about these guys that are on the roster. I've always been a proponent of Jacoby Myers, and I think that I feel like, all right, that's one of the guys that I want to actually maybe go after a little harder. I don't know.
Sure.
But I think that they think they can win now with him. And only time will tell, but he doesn't have so much time like in his
Right.
he's playing till 37 in the final year, but I mean
That's still like
Geno.
prime territory for a quarterback, especially a quarterback that doesn't
Like
have
Geno.
a lot of I hate this saying, but he doesn't have a lot of tread worn off those tires. I mean, there's a lot left there. He didn't start for years.
Right.
So we're in year 4 now. This will be year 4 of him actually starting in the NFL if you factor in his rookie season where he started in New York. So this team, again, I think this is a team that they're looking at it like we can win now with Pete Carroll because he's around for maybe 3 seasons. I don't think he goes farther, 3 or 4 seasons. They've got Geno for the next 3. And there's another guy in this offense we'll talk about here a little bit later in the show that I think are intriguing because of that. Because of them, they're locking on to Geno. I think they really do believe they can win now. They're going to have a pretty potent offense in the AFC West to be able to compete with teams like Denver and San Diego, the Chargers and the Chiefs. So I just always go back to San Diego.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
It is, All right, guys. Well, we are going to move on to the meat of the show here. Some pre-draft dynasty trade targets. And I know there is someone in the chat here on YouTube who loves this first one. Kacey, Roschon Johnson, just finagled a deal for him in a dynasty league this morning. I got him for a 307 and a 309 paired for Roschon Johnson.
Yeah,
Kevin,
wow.
I know. Kevin's depth charts are beautiful, and the world's going to get to see more of them here soon and read more about them. Roschon Johnson and DeAndre Swift, in his opinion and in mine, I believe that this is going to be a committee backfield with these two guys. If they're the two guys that they roll out opening week, because we know what Ben Johnson thinks of DeAndre Swift. He already shipped him off once. He had him in Detroit. He didn't want him.
Right.
They moved on from him. So I don't know why people have any hope for DeAndre Swift in Chicago this season. If there's a guy who's going to surprise people, it's going to be Roschon Johnson. What you're getting with those mid-third round picks right now in rookie drafts and what you'll get for them post-NFL draft, I'd rather take a stab on Roschon.
Yeah. I was talking to you pre-show about how I have all these third round, fourth round picks in a bunch of my leagues. What kind of guys can I target with these? And when you brought the Roschon Johnson up, I was okay. I can start trying to make some deals because I need running back depth places, and that sounds like a great shot at getting points for me. Obviously,
well, and if you look at the team and what they've done this offseason, they upgraded their offensive line, significantly upgraded their offensive line. If they don't go after a running back in the draft, I think Roschon's price goes up after the draft. I think all of a sudden we're looking at he's a guy that you're having to give up a second round pick for and maybe another piece. This is the cheapest he'll be if the Bears don't go running back in the first 3 rounds of the draft. I'm jumping on getting him.
Yeah, it's long. Yeah, exactly.
Like everything in Dynasty, it's a risk.
It's a risk, but with the reward, if you get it, and what the third round picks, fourth round picks, whatever you have. I mean, I go back and look at those third round picks you've had from the past and see which ones have hit. Yeah, the ones that hit, you're like, that's why you keep those third. That's why you keep those third round picks. But it's not always going to happen.
No. I've always been and will always be someone who values real assets that I know what they are over speculative assets like picks. Because we're really just speculating okay, what is this going to be? What is this pick going to be? Mm-hmm. Maybe it's going to be X player, maybe it's going to be Y player, but when you're trading for it, a lot of times you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
I would rather take the player I've seen. my 2/3, they might get me a total of what Roschon could put together this season. And in this draft, and especially in this draft class, this isn't a good draft class.
And like, if you are one of those people who needs a touch, I mean, he had 6 touchdowns last year, so he did something, right? He in the limited, so
there's I think we forget too with this Bears offense last season, it wasn't good. It was very, very bad offense. Caleb Williams should be better this year. He should be a more serviceable QB1 in fantasy.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think Romo Dunze, his price isn't necessarily what I would call cheap, but I think it's low enough that I'm trying to grab him in some drafts because Keenan Allen's not going to be back.
Exactly. Keenan Allen's not there. He was the second most targeted last year on that team. So
you've got Odunze and Moore, and another guy that we'll probably be talking about at some point here in the future is Cole Kmet in this Bears offense. And he's going largely undrafted in Bestball right now. And you can probably get him for a 4th round pick or as a toss-in another trade.
Oh, definitely with the toss-ins. Because looking at stuff earlier today, just trying to come back, because Cole Kmet was one of the names that I had jotted down as, man, I need tight end help.
And he's a great guy to go after for that. When they target him, it goes well. And it went well for Caleb Johnson last year. He had a handful of double-digit target games, and he looked good. He was fantasy viable in those games. If with Keenan Allen gone, if they ramp that up a little bit in this Ben Johnson offense, Sam Laporta, I'm not saying he's going to be Sam Laporta, but we could be seeing increased volume.
Yeah, and he's so efficient when he's out there. So, I mean, he had 85.5% catch rate last year. Like, the guy's a tight end a solid tight end. So
it's a very solid tight end. I like what Lou here in the chat says. Cheap risks are the kinds you should be taking a few a year, making a few of those cheap risks every year in Dynasty. Like, you've got to try a couple. Roschon Johnson's a good one. Let's move on to our next player, actually. This is another cheap one. Troy Franklin, the sophomore wide receiver in Denver, teammate of Bo Nix at Oregon. I think people are forgetting that. Scanning through some MFL trades and some trades that went in leagues that I am in, he's a toss-in. People are trying to get other parts. They're using Troy Franklin to even out trades here and there. I moved him in my 102, him in my 107 for a 102. So that's not much. That's a toss-in, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Denver's depth at wide receiver isn't great.
It's not. I like Courtland Sutton. But Troy Franklin is like, he showed last year, especially towards the, that he was the guy. So I have all faith in him, and I like that as a trade target.
Well, the opportunity for him to see increased volume this season over what he saw last year. Marvin Mims, A.T. Perry, Devon Vele, Trent Sherfield, Michael Bandy. These are the guys he's competing with for targets. And Evan Ingram, of course, in that Joker role. But I don't know that really impacts what Troy Franklin brings to the table. He could be 115, 120 target guy this year. I don't think that's crazy.
No, I don't think that's crazy either. I'd like to see that connection with him and Nix this year. I'm excited to see that grow.
Well, and the savvy people who really understood what Troy Franklin was knew that Peyton wasn't going to use him heavily in his rookie season. I wasn't really sure of that until we saw it really happen, where they just didn't roll him out a ton, and they didn't need to, right?
Right.
This year they're going to. They let little Jordan Humphrey go. They didn't go on the hunt for former New Orleans wide receivers. I thought maybe they were going to go after a guy like Brandin Cooks in free agency. They didn't do it. So I think that they're prepared to ride with what they have. So in that, I really like Troy Franklin. And even if they go out and sign another receiver, whether it's kind of like a lower tier veteran or they draft someone in like the 4th or 5th round, I still think Franklin's going to have his role in this offense. So I think he's worth, as a toss-in, maybe you could get him for like straight up for like a 4th rounder. That's really not a bad deal for a guy.
To get a guy that could be the top guy on that offense. Yeah, let's go.
He very easily could surpass Courtland Sutton. Let's move on to the next one here. Another wide receiver, Wan'Dale Robinson of the New York Giants. right now he's going for like late third to like mid to late fourth round rookie pick straight up. I don't really understand where he had 140 targets last year. Not that much in this offense has changed. There's been no chatter of this team trying to go after a wide receiver in the draft at all. So he's up against Darius Slayton and Jalen Hyatt for targets. And unless Jalen Hyatt takes a major leap forward, Kacey, Wan'Dale Robinson's a wide receiver too for the Russell Wilson, possibly Jameis Winston led offense here.
I love it. And like, as soon as I saw the name on the sheet, I got a smile on my face. So that tells you everything. Like last year, totally in on this kid, and not even gonna lie, still in on this kid. And I'm excited. Volume is king. He's going to see. He sees the targets. Getting that quarterback situation like settled, or at least semi-settled. I know there's a debate who's going to, but at least those guys are capable of doing the job, and that's all he needs is somebody to target him so that he can catch the ball. And
I really think with more competent quarterback play, which you're going to get out of Russell Wilson, is it going to be all-star caliber? Probably not. He's way over the hump of his prime, but you're still going to get more competent than you got out of Tommy DeVito or Daniel Jones, right? Which is good, really good for Malik Neighbors, but it's even better for Wan'Dale because now offenses have to really focus on Malik Neighbors because you've got a quarterback who's actually accurate. It's not Danny Dimes and Tommy DeVito who they're on target maybe 60% of throws, right? Wilson's going to be closer to 80 to 85% accuracy with most of his throws. He's going to be on target most of the time. They're going to have to focus on Neighbors more. That's going to leave more room for Wan'Dale to get open. He's not going to be facing the double coverage. He's not going to be facing the guy who's shadowing him. He's not going to have that safety that's sitting back as a reserve just waiting for the ball to come to him. He's going to be able to run a little bit freer in this offense. And again, as long as they don't do something in the draft, I don't think there's much competition for that wide receiver too here. And I think he's good for another 140, 150 targets this year.
Love it.
Yeah. And this one was hard because I don't love Gabe Davis, Kacey. I don't know if you've heard me talk about Gabe Davis, but I think he's mostly fool's gold. He's one of those guys who he fits into NFL offenses, right? He's blocking wide receiver. He can fill a hole. He can fill space. For fantasy, he has like 1 or 2 games a year, and it was like, oh my God, Gabe Davis is back. I think that there's maybe a chance he has a little bit of an increased role in Jacksonville this year behind Brian Thomas. Maybe. Christian Kirk is gone. He's in Texas. He went straight up for Carson Steele in a league.
Like, why are we even trying to make that trade? Because no, that's mean. I personally wouldn't try to make that trade because it's who wants to talk about
it? Here's where I want to. This is why I want to talk about it because if you've got Carson Steele sitting on your taxi or on your bench, and you can get Gabe Davis for Carson Steele, I would do that because there's at least some semblance of there's a world in which he could be a wide receiver too in an offense that should throw the ball a fair amount with Trevor Lawrence at quarterback versus Carson Steele, who needs like 4 people to get injured for him to get a carry. And then he's going to fumble it anyway.
Yeah. At least you get a couple of games out of Gabe Davis. You're right. At least you get a couple of those games. Now you need the depth. That is true as well. I need the depth. I don't like, when it's these, I don't know. This is more of a like throw in for me. I know. I mean, obviously he is a throw in. That makes it sound. I mean, those are both pretty much. You can throw those guys in if you want, but yeah, I think that that's where we are.
Exactly.
That is where we are.
That is where we are. If you can get Gabe Davis this cheaply, add him into a trade as a toss-in. There's value to be had there. It's not a ton of it, but if he starts seeing consistent volume for the first time in his career, he could be a flex play on bye weeks. So a cheap acquisition, you get him for almost nothing.
I gotta stop thinking of just about my. I'm like trying to rebuild in all these leagues, and I'm like, I don't know about Gabe, David.
I hate rebuilding.
I hate it too. That's why I've been doing it for as long as I've been doing it, folks.
I know,
but
we're
that's what
working.
happens when you win. You know, you win the first time, and then you gotta rebuild because you traded all your
that pesky winning. Hopefully, we're gonna have a tool soon that'll help with those rebuilds, though.
Yeah, baby, like it.
All right. Well, those 4 players, I think right now for me, those are guys that I'm really heavily targeting in drafts for trades in Dynasty.
Yeah.
They're cheap acquisitions. They could be pretty helpful. They're bench pieces. So these are guys to think about right now. But now I want to talk about, Kacey, some early redraft sleepers, because some of us degenerates are already drafting redraft for next year. And certainly a lot of us degenerates are hitting up a lot of best ball drafts, Underdog, fastdraft.app, promo code Optimist to get $50 deposit match over there. If you haven't checked it out yet, details in the show description. But here are some players that are going 200 or later in ADP, Kacey, that I just cannot stop drafting in best ball. And when redraft season comes around, if these values are holding, I'm going to have a lot of shares of these guys. Jamie Prague in the chat is about to get real excited. Roschon Johnson is my first one. Guys, his ADP is 228 right now in best ball. That's RB 63, late 18th to early 19th round of drafts. For all the reasons I said before, we can move on from this one pretty quickly here, Kate. But for all the reasons I said before, like, you should be grabbing Roschon Johnson in best ball drafts right now.
That price tag is not. Yeah, I would.
If he has two fantasy viable games where he slots into your lineup, he's 100% worth it.
Okay. 100%. Yep. Let's go.
Yeah, Jamie, no surprise here. He's been grabbing him the 18th. Sounds about right. Gotta love it. The next one, Kacey, that I want to talk about, Raheem Mostert, going back to that Vegas offense in win now mode with Pete Carroll. Right now, his ADP is 201, RB 70. It's putting him in the late 16th round. Kacey, I know he's old. I get it. But he only had north of 100 carries twice in his career, and he's only been north of 200 once. Why not? This feels like a roll him out until the wheels fall off type situation. Their running back depth chart is atrocious.
Yeah, it is. And even last year, it being atrocious, like they still had guys that had some decent games. Guys we were talking about, this is going to be a sleeper for this week. You should stream this guy this week because definitely not guys you wanted to start every week. No, but with Raheem Mostert, or must start as we used to call him when he was startable, you must start him. And I still feel like having him on your, man, definitely. I mean,
RB 70, like
you're basically, you got to take flyers on these guys late, and you've seen what he can do. I'm not walking away. It's redraft. Come on, let's go.
We're only 2 seasons removed from his PPR RB2 season.
Yeah. Do we forget about it? I don't know. Maybe.
I feel like we did. Well, there were those seasons in San Francisco where it was like, oh my God, he's going to be so good. He got hurt. It happened like 3 seasons in a row. Now, I think in Vegas, we got a comment in the chat here, Lou, saying he thinks that last season the wheels did start to fall off.
They're a little shaky. Yeah, they're a little,
sure.
Maybe a little. Sure. They're still on. They're just.
But you're talking free, and which he did say in his comment as well. Like, and that's the thing with this is a sleeper. These are guys we're talking about. They're either at the back end of your draft. You're taking these guys instead of a kicker. And Mostert could very easily be in our back end RB2 this season in Las Vegas. The thing is, they're not going to ask him to run the ball a ton. This is going to be more of a pass heavy, probably Brock Bowers focused offense.
So it's perfect for him because he's got the age, the years, it's a perfect retiring spot for the dude.
Yeah, exactly.
This is where one last hurrah.
Woo! I hope it ends in them finishing in last place in the AFC West. That's a personal thing. Now, we talked about this offense earlier. Jameis Winston in New York. We know he's not the starter, Kacey, but he is going largely undrafted as QB 36. If you're in a deeper redraft league where you have these massive benches or you're drafting best ball right now, Jameis Winston is almost a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, I think so as well. Yeah.
If he starts, you know he's throwing the ball 45 times a game.
Oh, you do. And what an entertaining guy.
Right. And it's fun, but him in that offense with Malik Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson.
That would be.
Yes. I just want I want a part of that. And you can get a part of that at the back end of drafts. So for almost nothing. Last one, I mentioned him earlier, Brandin Cooks, back in New Orleans where it all started. If nothing else, he's Mr. Consistent in an offense that knows how to use him. I believe that's what we're going to get in New Orleans. Derek Carr's probably the perfect quarterback for a wide receiver like this. And you put him behind Chris Olave. He's now the wide receiver 2 in that offense. Taysom Hill and Roschon Johnson are there too. There isn't a whole lot else to be excited about in New Orleans. This is a pretty pathetic team. It's probably going to finish last in a really bad division. But Brandin Cooks could be a bright spot.
I was going to say, I hope he's the bright spot in that pile of disgustingness, because I have him in some of my Dynasty leagues, which is like, why do you still? No, maybe you guess what? That was my redraft last year. I was talking him up last year, and guess what happened? I looked down last year, but
but that's not fair, because we talk every time that we talk down about Brandin Cooks, he outperforms expectations.
I know. And he's coming to the close of his career, and he's, like you said, I mean, he's back in New Orleans.
Well, and let's look at guys that you're getting around 251. Why not take a shot on him? Other guys going in this range: Zach Moss, Zamir White, Isaiah Davis, Deontay Johnson, who doesn't even have a team, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Gabe Davis, Taysom Hill, Kayshon Boutte, Tutu Atwell, Savion Williams, who doesn't even have a team yet, has yet to be drafted. We don't even know if he's going to be a day 2 pick at this point. Likely a day 2 pick. These are the guys that you would be taking over Brandin Cooks in this range. I don't know why you would.
Now I'm just going to take the guy who has had seasons upon seasons of awesomeness and is a veteran who knows, like, put him out there on the field and watch him play. Like, the dude still got it. So when he's healthy, and it's old man health, but he's good.
But I think it goes back to the whole like Mostert and Geno Smith argument where, look, Cooks is going into his 12th season. He's 31 years old, but you look back the last few seasons, he really hasn't been over 100 targets in any of the last 3. And in the last 8, he's only been over 100 targets a handful of times. Yeah. Not asked to do a ton. And in this situation, you're basically looking to replace what we would assume is Rashid Shaheed, which sounds like he also won't be healthy, which makes me and Cooter Doodle and everyone else really sad.
It makes me sad. Yeah, we were all about Shaheed for, I guess, man.
I'm going on 2. That was 2 seasons of Shaheed love for me.
Yep.
So if he fills that Shaheed role, I mean, we know what that role is. Probably more of like a best ball target than a redraft target. You don't know. This is a new offense, different regime. You've got Dennis Allen out of there. Speaking of which, I think it's about time to get us out of here, Kacey. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Make sure if you're here to like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Facebook. Go check us out on Blue Sky at optimusfantasy.bsky.social. You'll find us a little bit on Twitter, but not much anymore. Also, check out our show description. The link to our Discord channel is in there. Our buddy Lou has got that thing rolling. It is freaking-tastic. We've got all sorts of different channels. Get your questions in for our Ask Me Anything mailbag show tomorrow afternoon with Kevin and Keith. We will be live at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's been fun.
It's been a blast.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Guys, make sure you go over to Sunday Dreamers Club, sundaydreamersclub.com. Check out all of that awesome merch. You know you want it. And then fastdraft.app over there. Best ball drafts. We've got all the fun. Right now, the Origins best ball drafts are the ones you want to be checking out. These are rookie drafts, 6 rounds. You're in and out in like 5 to 6 minutes, super quick. If you sign up now, use the promo code Optimus to get a 50% deposit match. And there's a good chance you're going to find me in one of those drafts. So come say, hey.
Get it done.
It's too much fun.
Get it done. I want to everything all excited. Yes. It's a good day. And fast draft. We're out here just Nate, you're so good at this, like repping. You're really plugging the stuff nicely today. I like
5
it.
years into it. I better
good job,
be damn it. Yeah, but like Lou says, come join us on Discord.
Yes,
it's a blast. It's a great channel. And you won't miss anything because we have bots that post all of our content and all of that stuff. Yeah. Speaking of which, I got to get out here because I got to go edit Kevin's article.
Oh, got to go.
I know. I've got stuff to go post. But we do have a Dynasty startup advice article out from Lou. Posted yesterday. Go check that out on optimist.com. For Casey Kasem, I am Nate Paulville. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll catch you next week.